What's up, guys? Pittsburgh White Shorts here, back again with another Hololive deck tech. I'm joined today by Carmen and Brian.
Hello. Hololive month got extended.
Yeah, people really seem to like these, so
Apparently.
we will happily oblige.
Yeah. So today we're going to be going through a trial deck only deck tech. So right now we're a little bit between the booster and trial decks are out. So this way, if you aren't able to get some of those booster cards and you got your TDs, we can get you a nice deck here to run.
All right, hop right into the deck list. As we can see, just trial deck cards. We are going to be playing Rushia. Rushia is still really strong. If you look back at the Hololive Trial Deck Festival event that happened in Japan, there were a lot of results of differing, different trial deck only builds running into other trial deck only builds. And Flare Rushia was like somewhere to like 60-70%, like a ludicrous amount of the deck. When you scroll down,
Rushia is a good card.
Yeah, almost like Rushia is pretty good. But unlike the actual meta deck that we covered, the Rushia Choice Pants Rushia deck, we're going to be running a little bit of a different combo. We're going to be playing the Flare because we're playing only the trial deck cards. We have to have another game plan because we don't have all the Rushia tech to make her a big toolbox. She's still a great card. She's still a really good mid game into end game game plan, but we got to have something else going. So we're going to play a different level 1 pack, which is still pretty good and pretty cool. So let's get right into the cards. So because we're limited to trial deck, we're going to max out on the real good cards. So we're going to play 4 of the 3K clean cut and 4 of the Sakura drop search, or the Miko drop search, which is just a 3,500 oversized drop search and a 3K clean cut with the drawback the card can't side attack. Both really good pressing profiles. The Miko obviously doubling as a selection tool. Selection really important in this deck because our Flare is not selective. We have to have extra selection tools to make sure we can hit our Rushia stuff, to make sure we can get our Rushia out every single game. Tanner, I know you're a big proponent of the Coco clean cut.
Oh yeah, I love the Coco. There's not too many times where you run into somebody having something that you can't get over with this 3K. But this card is really great. It's great to level, which is fun.
Yeah, it's here for yellow fix. Yeah.
So it serves that purpose as well. But yeah, I like this card a lot. I mean, there's no drawback to it. You're never going to play this down late game unless you don't have to worry about siding taps.
Yeah, and then of course the Miko drop search is just insane card that you'll see in pretty much every Hololive deck.
Yeah, card broken.
And you do only get 2 Gen 0 trial deck, so make sure you go out and get a second trial deck if you haven't got one already.
Yeah, you also, for the Coco clean cut, is also a 2-up, so you will need 2 of the Gen 4s as well.
Okay, that's another. Gen 4 is another one you want 2 of it if you want to have double
Conatos. Yep.
All right, moving on to other level 0s. We're going to play 3 of the Marine Ricky. It's an on death, pay 1, clock yourself, top check 4. Notably, we don't have any other go-to deck speed since we don't have the booster set. So this is just going to be our clock plus of choice. There are a couple clock pluses in the trial deck play set, which is pretty wild for trial deck. But we're going to play this one just because this does move through extra cards, and that's the only. It's also yellow. A little bit of extra yellow to help us color fix. And then 3 of the Noel Brainstorm. We only need 1. Every copy after the first Noel Brainstorm is pretty dead, unless we're just kind of tapping them down on first deck to get through our deck. So we're only going to run 3, even though it's an important card. We do have selection tools to get it. Don't feel bad if you have to drop search this with Miko or use your 2-1 event to grab a copy. That's why those cards are in the deck. But every copy after the first one is pretty dead, so we're only going to play 3.
If you do have the extra, though, it's also free power pump to help keep your Flares and Rushias alive.
That's true.
Yeah.
The flare set's pretty big cross turn. So
yeah, it gives an extra 1K to both combos, though. Pretty nice. Rounding out our level 0, 3 more cards here. 2 of the Watame Climax swap. Really important after Rushia comes down that we can continue to play Pants every single turn. So this is an important card to have multiple copies of, to make sure that card is in grave when we need to pick it up with Rushia, and just so we have access to it throughout the game. Also might give us some extra stock if we play it in the early game. The Shion helps stop our opponent from removing our Rushias by swapping around our opponent's board so that they can't crash one of their Adachis, like a level bomb that hates on cards that are at a higher level, like those anti-early play cards. This helps move around your opponent's board so your opponent cannot crash those cards into your Rushia and remove them. That even if they beat over them, you can just hand on core and move on. And then we do have the space to run the Aqua, which can restand our Noel if we're at X0 or X1 and clock, that we can get a Brainstorm off even on the turns that we play a when we play the Rushia down. Since we have to tap 2 to play it, we can play this down, restand it. Also scries and top checks on play, so it's a ditch out and a scry helps. It's like a 6-card Brainstorm, stuff like that. Well, 7 card actually, because you scry and then top check and move through that that way. So you can get really deep brainstorms. Make sure you hit to maybe rip into extra climaxes, or just brainstorm on the turn you play Rushia. That's the main reason it's in the deck.
Yeah, I had this come up quite a few times when I was playing the other day at locals. This card has saved me and allowed me to play Rushia twice out of 4 games. So I love this card, especially with Rushia.
All right, moving on to level 1. So we are going playing the Flare level 1 combo. If you played Sal 10th, this is like the Kirito Alice combo from that set. It is 500 power for each of your other Hololive characters, so 6k before climax. And then on attack with the climax, you check top. If it is either a character or the specific Gen 3 event, this 2-1 event, you can add it to your hand, or you can leave it there, actually. You don't even have to take it. And then you can choose to Twin Drive if you'd like, which is pay 1 and then trigger twice. If you're new to White Schwartz and you don't really understand why Twin Drive would be something you do, Twin Drive is a way to pay out triggered climaxes mid-combat, which is really good for our deck, because if you trigger choice, you can choose to take stock and then pay out. So it's basically just a free stock charge 1 while paying out your climax. If you trigger a pants, you can grab a pants for your upcoming turn, your Rushia turn, which is going to be usually directly following your level 1 turn, and then pay out that pants so that your next deck isn't as bad, because you're paying out climaxes you triggered during the combat step. So Twin Drive can be really, really strong. But the main reason for this card is because with all the power we have going on, it's 6k. We have a Noelle down at 7k. We have some other stuff going on where you're going to be like attacking in at 8k, 9k. You can back up to 9k, 10k on your opponent's turn, which is really good for a costless board, which can help you deal with standby, or at least challenge it while you carry yourself into Rushia, where Rushia does pretty well into standby of her own right. So pretty nice that this card is 6k and then benefits from your other stuff in that 1k power from the Noelle Brainstorm. Supplementary level 1s, just to round it out here, we are playing this 1-0 Marine. This is just sort of your typical auxiliary level 1 card to fill space and, fill our game plan here. Because if we have 2 or more other Hololive characters, she's going to be 6k all the time. We're going to have a board full of 6ks at minimum with all of our level 1s, so that even if our opponent decides to kill this one because our flares are too big, because our opponent's going to try to kill our combos if they can. They don't want to let us plus again if we're going to stay at level 1 on another turn. But if they choose this one, because this one will be a little smaller because it doesn't benefit from the Noelle Brainstorm, it might coin flip to live, because when your opponent reverses this, you reveal top card. If it's level 2 or higher card, you rest this, so it lives cross turn even though it became reversed. It rests itself mid combat, which is pretty cool. It's just a nice little coin flip plus, as well as being another 6k body. And then we are also going to run 2 of the Pekko backup. It is a basically free backup. It is a 1/1 2k counter, where when you use the backup, if all your characters are Hololive, you can stock the top card of your deck. So it's effectively a 1/0, but because it has this power budgeting, it gets to have a soul trigger, which is really important because we are running choice. So it means we can pick it up off choice or stock it in the matchups we don't need it. We can just throw it right in our stock off of choice. So dual purpose there. Helps us keep our level 1 board, as well as give us options off of choice. Level 2, we got to run the Flare. We got to run 2 of the Flare. We're still only running 2, even though our selection is lower, because again, every other copy of the first one is dead, and we do have selection tools to help. We are running this 3k counter. If you don't have the Gamer CD and you have the Gen 4 TD just to play the Coco clean cut or whatever, you can play the Kanata 3k. It doesn't really matter too much. This one is just a 3k that does literally anything else, so we are going to play that. And then we are also playing the 2-1 Hololive 3rd generation event. If you are familiar with Weiss and you played Weiss for a while, you will notice that this is a Magical Girl Appears event. It is a 2-1. You play it, you salvage 2, and then you discard 1. So it is a hand filter for 2, where you just grab 2 cards you want from your grave and then discard a card. So it just hand filters you. It doesn't plus you, but it does get you 2 cards specifically that you want. This is how you are going to shore up your selection to ensure you can always have the right cards that you need to keep your Rushia game plan going. All right, moving on here to the Rushia, the star of the deck. It is a 3/2, 10/5 hand encore. If you have 2 or more other Hololive characters, when you play the climax, you can do one of 2 different effects. You can summon a Hololive character from your grave, put it onto any slot on your field, and then that character gets 2,500 power. Or you can salvage a character from your waiting room, add it to your hand, and then shuffle up to 4 cards from your opponent's waiting room back into their deck, decompressing them. So obviously this can scale pretty nastily in multiples. If you have multiple Rushias, you're shuffling 8. You have 3 Rushias, you're shuffling 12. You can really deck break your opponent and make your big swings if you are winning board, which you will with Rushia, and just slamming a ton of big damage and blowing them up makes sure your opponent can't leave a 1-card deck against you ever, or they will instantly game, things like that. They can also summon additional copies. The big way with Rushia that you play is you summon down 1, your first Rushia pulls out another Rushia, then you have a board of 13/5 and 15/5 that your opponent has to clear, backed up by hand encore, really hard for your opponent to get rid of. Then the follow-up turns, you have really explosive options. You can toolbox out exactly the cards you need for the following turns, while, you know, adding cards to your hand, continuing to control the board, continuing to put on the pressure, shuffling back cards, ruining your opponent's compression. Your opponent has to play really on edge and really answer what you're doing, where you just continue to do exactly the same thing and don't care because your card's real hard to move. Rushia is very, very sticky. Got that hand on core. She's got a ton of power. Shits herself out in multiples. It's really, really annoying to deal with. We talked about Rushia a lot in terms of her meta relevance in the previous Rushia deck tech. We will have that linked in the description because this deck will transfer very well after you pick up some booster cards. If you build this and you're just playing your Trout deck only stuff and then you want to boost it up once you get your booster cards, it is very easy to improve it to bring it up to that top meta level with just only a couple inclusions. And because Hololive will be probably open quite a bit, it probably will be pretty cheap as well. Not only to get this in singles or just in Trout decks, but the full deck as well once the boost is.
Yeah, and a lot of those cards are commons and uncommons and rares. So it's like they are the lower price ones though. There's very few double rares in that as well. So
yeah, Rushia especially, there's very few double rares.
Should be super, super cheap.
Moving on to level 3s that we will use alongside Rushia and summon. Obviously, we must play the Marine. We are playing 3 copies because we want multiple copies to be in the grave. If this card is summoned by Rushia or played from your hand, you can heal. So if you can use multiple Rushias, if you need to heal down, you can have 2 Rushias in your grave. Or 2 Marines in your grave. You can use 1 Rushia to summon 1, and then use another Rushia to summon another Marine over top of that Marine. So with 1 open slot in the front row, you can heal twice. And then she has another effect, what really synergizes well with shuffling back cards, which is on attack, pay 1, ditch 1, choose up to 3 characters on your board, give them 500 power and a soul. So it helps you push for big numbers after decompressing your opponent, which can just blow out games. This is like the blowout card that also helps stabilize you. So it's got dual purpose, really, really good, and is tailor-made to work. Yeah, comes in the same trial deck, obviously. Then we have the Watsume. The Watsume is on play. You pay 1 and salvage a climax. There's another effect where you can discard a climax to salvage a character. So she either gives you a character for 1 stock or gives you a climax for 1 stock on play, just to make sure we can always continue to play Rushia every single turn. This is just a climax on a stick. Even if you have tap out all the way to play this, you only have 3 stock. You play it on the Watsume, pay 1, get a climax. That's usually a pretty good play because we're looping Rushias your entire existence. So being able to play this down, get your climax back, keep going, it's really, really important. And this is a trial deck card, so we're going to play it. And because we are in the trial deck, our options for Rushia sort of tech, where we can summon cards that do interesting things or include tech cards in our deck, is kind of limited. But we do have these 2 kind of cool options. We have the Fubuki, which is at the beginning of your opponent's draw phase. As long as this is in your center stage, you can choose one of your characters, give it 4k until end of turn, so it makes your board even bigger, lets you spread out power, do stuff like that. And then it also has on attack, you can pay 1, ditch 1, and then this gains 2k power and gets on reverse. You can burn 1. So it's a way for 1 stock in a card, as long as you can get a reverse, give you a little bit of push for game, as well as helping you beef up your board on the swing back. So a nice little option for you to summon with Rushia. Again, even if you are at level 2, you can just pull out level 3s with Rushia. You're not limited, so you can pull out any of these level 3s at level 2, and you're not really punished. You can play your whole game plan from level 2 and forward, which is really cool. Something unique that not a lot of decks in English specifically are doing right, if not at all. And then lastly, we have the Hato. So the Hato is a pretty memey card, but the main reason it's in the deck is the last effect here. On attack, you can pay 2, ditch 2, and burn 2. So it's a little bit of extra push if for some reason we can't answer board or we just need to push an additional point of damage to sort of close out the game. This is what we're going to summon off of Rushia. So you just pay 2, ditch 2, and burn 2 because it is on attack. The other ability, you have to play it from hand, but when you play it, you nuke the entire board. You can't get cute with the Rushia hand on core. Doesn't work that way because 2 or more other characters on board. So the condition unfortunately whiffs. So if you play this will be your only attacker unless you can play other cards from your hand during that turn. And then she does get that cancel burn.
You couldn't play other characters because it's the beginning of attack phase. It nuked the board.
Oh yeah, that's right. It is beginning of attack phase.
It's the only thing on board.
Yeah, you unfortunately can.
Whatever, yeah.
You unfortunately cannot get cute with the hand on core though, for sure. But yeah, just a little bit of extra push here. 2 different cards that push a little bit of extra damage, where the Fubuki can have the upside of buffing up your board, and the other one can blow boards up. The trial deck doesn't have the best options for like toolboxing with Rushia, but the raw power of Rushia, the fact that she threatens so much on her own, is worth playing this when we only have trial deck cards over something else. You can kind of get there with like halfway decks for something like the Kanata Shell or things like that, but the sheer like power lines of Flare at level 1, and then just like, you know, the insanity of Rushia at level 2 and forward is definitely what you want to be. All right, here's the whole deck list laid out. Pretty simple. Again, trial deck cards. Not many one-ofs. Our selection, again, fairly low. We do have 4 drop searches. We do have 3 of the events, but we are mainly going to be ripping cards and sculpting our hand that way, which is more normal Weiss. If you're new to Weiss and you're just getting into the game, learning how to sculpt with sort of like a combo that's just sort of a raw plus off the top will go a long way. If you can sculpt your hand with that, you can sculpt your hand with anything. When you get your booster in, you upgrade the deck, and you move over to that Coronet where you have a little bit more support, and you can be a little bit more selective. You could play the Coronet right now. It just wouldn't be as good with only the trial deck cards. You don't have like the sculpting, you don't have the other selection and utility cards to really support it. Flare kind of works on her own. Even if you don't have the climax, you kind of slam her down. She's a 6k or 7k, so it doesn't really feel as bad when you're just sort of drawing cards off the top and going that way and not having as much of selection. You guys have any other thoughts on the deck or just trial deck Hololive stuff in general before we move on here?
I mean, if you're trying to make a deck solely out of trial deck cards, like Carmen said, you can't beat the sheer blowout potential of Rushia. The fact that she can, if your opponent leaves you a small deck, just end the game on the spot.
Yeah, and from what trial decks you need for this deck, you will need 2 of 0, 1 of 1, 2 of 3, and 2 of 4. And 1 of 2 as well.
Yeah, you can make some substitutions, but I think most people who are super excited about Hololive, they probably at least have 1 of each, or maybe 2 of each or something like that. So we just wanted to put something out there, something for you people who have picked up your trial decks, and you want to know, like, how do I mix stuff together? How do I make something like a little bit of a level above before the booster comes out? And we had such a good response on our Memory and Kanata deck videos that we wanted to extend Hololive month a little bit and give you guys something else because they were so rare. All right, last slide here, like we usually do. Card games competitive. You're interested in Weiss Schwartz, you want to talk about the game, you maybe want to get some games over webcam or Weiss Fight, hop in there, talk about the game. Definitely give those a look. We don't own or operate them, but we are active in both of them, so definitely check those out. There's also Weiss Schwartz Global and Weiss Schwartz NA. If you're looking to buy, sell, and trade Weiss, that is where you want to go. There are also reveals and translations for new sets as they come out that are posted global with community translations. Those can also be found in the Discord. They both have card of the day channels. You can check those out there as well. And if you are still waiting for your trial deck stuff, or you just can't wait to get that booster stuff in, you just want to try it out, definitely look out for weissfight.net. Point your browser straight there, grab the link from Encore Decks from our description, and then slam it in there, and you're playing Weiss right in your browser with people from all over the world. There is a Discord and a Patreon if you would like to support the project or give feedback. The dev is very amenable to making the app as good as it can be, so definitely give that a look if you'd like to support the project and just try out the game in your browser for free. No need to install anything, no need for TTS or anything like that. Just hop online, point your browser there, and give it a look. Upcoming content: Tokyo Revengers set review. Got to put that together after the full set drops. We got Quince 2 that we need to do, as well as, is there something else that I'm missing here? I don't think so.
Titan's coming eventually.
And then 7 Deadly Sins 2 eventually.
Yeah, that'll probably be like way later this year, like November, December.
Okay.
Fate Camelot?
We already did that.
Already did that.
Camelot,
Yep. Yeah, if you're interested in that, there's set reviews on the channel. And again, if you are interested in taking this deck sort of to the next level after the booster comes out, you can definitely build this and then instantly transition into the meta Coronet Rushia meta deck, which we also have a video on, which we will have linked in the description. And with that, Pittsburgh Weiss Schwartz signing off. We'll see you guys in the next one.